Yo, what is going on, guys? Brink Trades here, bringing you another new weekly stock watch list. Before we get started, though, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. Without much more being said, let's go ahead and dive into the watch list. So, as far as earnings go, most of the important, I guess all of the important tech earnings stocks are out of the way, which is good for us scalpers and day traders, because most of the big news is out of the way. Now, pretty much left for the rest of the year until the end of this quarter, obviously for the last earnings of the year. Last thing really pending will be FOMC announcements, so that's something to keep an eye out for. But as far as earnings go, don't really have anything till the end of the year now. So as far as earnings go for this week, the only stocks that I'm really keeping an eye out for to see if they have any kind of potential move would be either CRM, which is Salesforce. They typically have some sort of good post earnings play sometimes. And then the other one would be Broadcom, ABGO. That's a good one to look at. That's near all-time high still, despite the market having a pullback, but that could always be a banger stock for a post earnings play. Now, as far as the watch list goes, we have quite a bit to look at as far as main stocks go. Indexes, pretty straightforward. First thing is I'm going to talk about is ES and NQ. You guys know the drill. As far as ES goes, it's in a pretty choppy area right now after all-time highs. So for the meantime, I'm going to keep things pretty simple. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. We do have a 4-hour uptrend on the 4-hour timeline. And so what I'm going to be keeping an eye out for here is the 6460 support that we created from this Wednesday. After that, I have support at 6430. Then after that, we have that trendline break that also breaks around that 6430 mark. So it'll be pretty interesting to see, especially since we have been holding up this uptrend, where ES will go on from here. After 6430, I don't have room till 6400. Now on NQ here, if I go to the 4-hour on here, it is pretty straightforward on what I'm looking at. The only issue with NQ is it does get a little choppy past this 23,400 area. You can see that this is a previous support that we have talked about on the channel. After 23,400, my only support on this isn't until roughly either 23,100 or even the 23,000 area. If I put this on the bigger time frame, on the 1 year or even on this 4-hour, the 4-hour makes it pretty clear. But anywhere from 23,400 all the way down to 23,000, it is just a congested area on NQ. There's no clear supports anywhere. There's no clear resistances. There's nothing. It's just all choppiness. So my job is just going to see how we react past 23,400 and how we move on from down there. Now, obviously, we have a similar 4-hour trend line like the one we have on ES. It's less sharper. This one actually has a little bit more room. It's less steep. So with this one gives us room all the way up to 23,200 until this trend line breaks. We have rejected off of it twice now, but it typically, that does fall under my rule set for trend lines, but for the bigger picture, it doesn't really fall too much in line with what I'm looking at. But for the meantime, like I said, I'm keeping things straightforward. 23,400 is going to be my first support, and then my other support will be 23,000 flat. So now, as far as the main stocks go, this is what I'm really excited about. Apple, which is actually holding up pretty well despite the market having some nasty pullbacks. It's actually held up all day on Friday, which is something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this coming week. If I put Apple here on the 4-hour or even on the 1-hour, the main level that I am looking at is at 235. Now, we do have a flat top across there. I haven't marked it on my chart, but if I mark it right here, you guys will be able to see it. Give me 1 second here, plotting this for you guys. Not for myself, but mainly for you guys. If I get rid of these levels right here and just plot it at 235, you guys can see we have a clean flat top across there, and especially with the market pulling back, like I said, and Apple holding up, this looks really good for us. So Apple, obviously going to be part of my main watch list. Going to be looking at that flat top at 235. Will I look for any early entries? Most likely not. I'm going to keep it pretty safe. It's been a pretty good year. We're getting close to the end of the year. So there's no reason for me to put a lot more risk on the line at this point. I can if I see the proper trade. You guys know the whole spiel with that, but gonna keep things pretty simple with Apple, looking at that 235. Next up is Nvda. All right, Nvda here. I'll say I have one more setup after this one, and it's gonna be Meta, but Meta looks just absolutely insane. So I'm saving that one for the best for last. On Nvda here, had earnings, of course, we all know that. And it had a blow off top. We got up all the way to almost damn near all-time highs at 184, 185, and we came all the way down the following, or I guess the end of the week, and closed at around 173, almost 174. So Nvda is a little tricky here. Obviously, it is really weak. Nvda being the biggest stock in the entire market right now, which to the point where I think we're in a bubble because of this stock. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what kind of continuation Nvidia has going on in the next few days. My first area that I'm going to be looking at is 171 on Nvidia. After that, I'll be looking at 170. So those are going to be the two levels that I'm going to keep an eye out for in Nvidia. 171 is pretty straightforward because we've had the most wicks there recently, and we haven't had any actual solid closes there on the 4-hour. So that's the reason why I'm looking at 171 with room down to 170. Now, I'm sure we could look at some areas to scalp beforehand before we get down to 170 or even 171. For the meantime, though, I'm sticking to the clearer and more important levels on Nvidia. So it'll be those two areas that I'm keeping an eye out for. And then last but not least is Meta. Now, Meta has been holding up in the market pretty well, but this was weak on Friday. Not saying that this could happen, but from its post-earnings play, we have had a gap from 731 all the way down to 709. 708.50 if you want to be exact, but if you round it up, it'll be 709. But we have roughly a $20 gap there that I am super excited to trade. We obviously it filled the gap from post-earnings all the way down to 731. So that's the area where I would be looking at to trade Meta. It is the most clear, concise area, and it is pretty close to 730. So having that break at 731 going into 730, it kind of gives us like a push or a momentum break going into that area. And with it being a gap setup, this obviously has a lot of room. Not all gaps have to fill an entire day. It can take its time. Like, gaps they can either fill in a day. It can take a week. It can take a couple of days. It can take a month. Sometimes it can even take a year. Gaps don't have a specific time frame on when they need to be filled, but this is something that I think most people should look at because this setup does look really good, and especially if Meta can pick up on the weakness ahead of the market, Meta is a stock to keep your eyes on for sure. So, but yeah, that's about it for the watch list, though, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Before you go, though, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it here at Stock Hours. And with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend, and then we'll catch you guys with the market open on Tuesday. Peace out.